Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's partner webinar, Eliminating Outages with SD-WAN. My name is Tina Plant, and I'm the Marketing Manager at Ecessa. For today's session, everyone will be placed in mute mode. We welcome your questions throughout the presentation via the chat feature, which you can access from the control panel. And please share your chat questions with everyone. At the end of the presentation, you'll be able to unmute your microphone and ask questions if you like. Today's session will be recorded, and we'll send a link to the recording in a follow-up email. So our topic today, as I said, is eliminating outages with SD-WAN. And I want to introduce our presenter today, Mike Siegler, CEO of Ecessa Corporation. Mike has a Bachelor of Arts degree in mathematics, a Bachelor of Science degree in electrical engineering, and a Master of Science degree in the management of technology. He's worked in engineering and technology for firms including Digi International, Seagate Technology, Medtronic, General Electric, and United Technologies. And to frame up our conversation, why are we here today? Because internet outages are bad for business, especially businesses that don't have a failover solution like Ecessa. We're going to talk about the variety and impact of outages, look at various SD-WAN solutions, review where SD-WAN has eliminated outages through case studies, and then talk about the value that SD-WAN brings to you in your product portfolio. I'm going to turn it over to Mike now, and he will explain how to go beyond failover with additional features of Ecessa SD-WAN.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to talk to you again. I see a lot of familiar names on the roster today, so thank you for taking your time to join us. I know that your time is valuable, and I want to make sure that these webinars are spot on, relevant, and useful for you. So again, as we planned these summer webinars, it was really your feedback that drove them. We've found in the past that we address a lot of really relevant things. Those case studies are very helpful. And as I've traveled the country and gone to Channel Partners events and different user conferences and visited customers, I get the same feedback. It's when's the next webinar? So we're trying it out this summer. Love to hear your feedback. Hopefully this doesn't impact too many people's personal vacations, but we're trying to make sure that we keep the message relevant and on topic. And so really when we talk about what the so what, who cares about SD-WAN, you know, I've said over and over again, SD-WAN is an overused buzzword, right? It's just like IoT. It's very complex. There's a lot of different components to it. And a lot of times our partners are asking, how do I make money with this? How does it solve customer problems? What are some desired customer outcomes when it comes to SD-WAN? So that's really the whole purpose of our webinar series. So today we're talking about the basics, and that is how do you avoid outages, right? Very simple in terms of, hey, we do not want our systems to go down. We do not want to have massive outages across the country. We don't want to have rural outages at the last mile. And so just kind of taking a step back, the team, we kind of reviewed, we've done a lot of blog posts over the years about what kinds of outages have we seen, and it's been all kinds of stuff from, you know, basic brownouts from major national carriers to arson, to vandalism, to animals, chipmunks chewing on lines. It's crazy the kinds of things that cause outages, both, you know, laughable, but also, you know, crying because these outages are significant. When you have a backhoe cut a fiber connection and it takes 3 days to come back up, that awesome fiber circuit that you pay $1,000 a month for is not that great anymore. So very simple things can cause very bad things to happen. And we like to always start the concept of SD-WAN is here to provide resiliency. SD-WAN is here to provide failover and to help you avoid outages. So what are some of the other cases that we've seen? Well, we did a blog post on this one last year, which is the outages associated with CenturyLink that we had nationwide. And this was incredibly destructive to a lot of our partners because it was across the entire country in different areas. So we want to make sure that we're paying attention to what does happen. It's not a matter of if, but when there's going to be an outage, there's going to be a brownout, there's going to be a performance degradation. We hear about these issues all the time. We are based in Minneapolis, and over the weekend, We had Target Corporation, which is an international retailer based here, had a major outage on their POS systems. Now, I don't know if anyone knows yet exactly what that cause was, but let's just say that it wasn't good for their stock price today. It wasn't good for their reputation as they're struggling to overcome security breaches and other things. So this just becomes one more aspect of your customer's business that you can help them avoid, right? SD-WAN is tried and true. It's been available for a long time, and we are in a situation where we're able to provide that proactive outage prevention for your customers. And we'll talk more about the other benefits of the technology later here and in other webinars. Now, one of the things that we always like to ask when we get on a call with customers is, what is the impact to your business, right? What are you trying to solve? When I get on a call with an end customer, let's say it's a mid-sized regional bank or healthcare organization, they're not asking about SD-WAN typically. They're typically saying, I have poor performance, or people are complaining about the internet being slow, or I'm dropping VDI remote desktop sessions, or my employees are complaining about X, Y, or Z. And then we get into the consultative discussion of, well, tell me more about that. Well, how are you using your 2 circuits? Do you have 2 circuits, etc.? And we quickly get to a situation where SD-WAN is a great solution for those customer complaints. And this is a perfect example. What is their cost of downtime, right? Do your businesses, do your customers know what the cost of being down is for them specifically, right? From a small hardware store in Main Street America to a large retail distributor to that critical infrastructure of a healthcare or financial institution. Do they understand the cost of being down? Because a lot of times when we're talking about costs, we can quickly show them a return on investment. We can show them that ROI calculator, that if you've got an impact of something like $20,000 an hour, it takes one outage to essentially pay for the entire solution that you're deploying. So a lot of times we ask partners to see if they understand that cost of downtime for their specific business. Sometimes they don't, but a lot of critical infrastructure have actually calculated them in the past. Now, one of the things that I had a question for you is around, are you currently recommending a failover solution? So like I said, there are some names on here that I recognize, and we've been in contact, and either I know exactly what your businesses are, your partners we've visited in person. There's a lot of new names on this list. If you do have a failover recommendation today, I'd love to hear about it if you want to chat it. Is it something that is an active failover? Is it something that is active passive? Is it LTE based? Because I'd like to understand that as we go around and talk about how we position our products and our services and our bundles, how that works. And then secondly is, how familiar are you with SD-WAN? If there's any folks on here that are brand new to it, I can try to make sure to explain a little bit more detail. If it's a veteran crowd, I can make sure to hit some of the relevant new points. So I'll wait a moment here to see if there's any feedback on our polls.
And we are getting some feedback, so go ahead and submit your answers and we'll move on.
Okay, great. Okay, wonderful. So I'm getting a sense that this is not new to people. We understand what we're doing, we understand why, and let's get to the meat of it. All right. So SD-WAN solutions. So as we continue to build out our portfolio, again, as most of you know, Ecessa's been around for about 18 years. We've been selling failover and load balancing gear for all kinds of different verticals for many, many years and have lots of deployed solutions. I like to reinforce, what is this SD-WAN and what is it not, right? So what it is a purpose-built solution to help you, the partners, take back control of those customers' WANs. What do I mean by that? Well, this technology allows you to deploy whatever kinds of connectivity is available for that customer, low cost, expensive, whatever it might be, cellular, fiber, coax, whatever you need to source for their locations, and you can integrate those circuits in an active way. So you can sell more circuits and make sure that you're providing that never down solution for your customers. It is failover, load balancing, traffic steering, path steering. It is custom traffic routing options, right? So again, talking to different businesses, Our products and SD-WAN products allow you to prioritize traffic, allow you to create rules that are specific to that business. So if they want to make sure that in a bad outage situation, they don't fail over their guest Wi-Fi, we can help write rules for that. If you want to make sure to guarantee their ERP and time tracking systems, but de-emphasize that basic web traffic at the edge, we can write traffic rules for that. So there's a lot of customization to help optimize that customer's network traffic and how it traverses the WANs that they have available to them. It is secure tunnels, right? The majority of our solutions all have those encryption engines built in. That includes 128, 256-bit encryption capabilities and allows for both discrete VPNs as well as those encrypted tunnels. And obviously, the other component of SD-WAN is that it gives you the network insight, it gives you the performance management data that you're looking for, it gives you the reporting and alerting that you need and what the customer needs. And then last but not least, it's scalable and flexible, right? We believe that SD-WAN needs to be something that complements a customer's network, not hinders it or makes the transition difficult, but allows them flexibility to accommodate as much or as little of that as they need. I'll stop there for any questions. Tina, are there things coming across that we have to answer?
There's a question that I think you're going to answer as you talk about the right side of this slide.
Sounds good. All right, and what is SD-WAN not? The way, again, I like to position this as SD-WAN is not an overall security appliance, right? A lot of solutions today, including SD-WAN that are being provided by firewall manufacturers, are a complement, right? So SD-WAN controls your WAN traffic. It gives you options on creating that never down environment and providing flexibility and control of your WAN traffic. Some providers add security, just like Ecessa does, right? We add a firewall feature to our product. We have the capability to secure the tunnels, and we have the encryption engines, and we can have an access control list, and we can have a change control log, so that you've got all of the security features necessary to meet the needs of regulated businesses, banks, healthcare, education, right? They demand these things. Those are must-haves. We have all of those. But I also tell people that we're not an enterprise-level firewall. We are not a Palo Alto, right? We are not a Barracuda. We're not going to be able to replace some of those more advanced requirements that businesses have. And there's a lot of blending of messages from folks like Fortinet and others who have a fantastic firewall, and then they have these add-ons for SD-WAN. And so make sure that as you're looking at what solution fits best, you understand the benefits and detriments of each one of those different solutions. It's also not a DDoS attack prevention mechanism today, right? We're able to steer traffic and avoid outages, and in some cases avoid a DDoS attack. But if you truly have a very complex attack that's coming from the network backbone, there's very little that a vendor can do to prevent it. A lot of those things have to come from the carriers or software companies that are placed in the backbone and can see the macro traffic. And we can talk about that as a follow-on if people are interested. And the other thing I've run across several times is it doesn't make a bad WAN into a perfect WAN. So if we have a bad connection somewhere and we have a secondary connection, we're going to be able to load balance across the good connection and really de-emphasize the bad connection, but we're not going to miraculously make the fix on the peering issue or the modem issue that is presented by the carrier. I've been on a few calls just recently where we've helped troubleshoot a carrier's modem and essentially had testing in multiple directions to the cloud and from a site to site to finally pinpoint and say it is a problem with the modem on that location. And I had customers say, that can't be, it can't be. The carrier tells me it's not. And then when the carrier changes out the modem and things miraculously work, we say, there's the data for you. So what I find is that a lot of times our consultative approach and the data-driven analytics of the solution helps to really take away some of that emotional, anecdotal discussion where there is a problem with the WAN. We've seen it dozens of times, and we have to open a ticket with a carrier. We have to do some corrective action, but I would say 85% plus of those situations, we've improved that WAN because of the data we've brought with the solution. And those are real use cases that I think are helpful for partners to know that when you work with the Ecessa, we go that extra mile to make sure that if there is some finger pointing on, hey, is it my carrier, is it your solution, we'll bring the data to help prove one way or the other. So I think very important piece. Did I miss any important questions there?
Nope, we had a couple questions on perfect WAN, and I think you just covered that.
Okay, great. So again, that's one thing that's very, very important is SD-WAN is going to make connections better. It's going to leverage multiple connections to spread the badness across. But if you've got a WAN that's down, if you've got a WAN that's poorly performing, we can get the data to help to solve that carrier problem, but we're not going to miraculously going to be able to overcome some of those challenges. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Wonderful. Moving on. So what does this look like, right? So I've used this slide a few times. It's a little busy, but I'll give you the quick and short of it, right? This is real customer data. This is a multi-site local chain that leverages an MPLS and a broadband connection. So the leftmost column, the blue column, is their MPLS, and the middle is their broadband cable provider, and the right-hand column is their effective throughput leveraging the Ecessa WANworks product. Now, the top row is packet latency. That's measured in milliseconds of latency. The next one down is packet loss. The next one down is packet reordering. And the last row is our outages. And those outages are anything greater than 3 or 4 seconds, right? So what we've found is that MPLSs are fantastic for dedicated low latency performance. They are repeatable, right? They're reliable, and that's why they were so important when they were first sold and positioned. But we do see that they're not perfect, right? We see that there is some loss across that circuit, a little bit of reordering, not much, and there's actually a few outages, and those outages are just a couple lost pings. Those might be 8 seconds, 9 seconds. For most users, they're not even going to notice them. But if you might have a glitch on a phone call, you might drop one web session, maybe not life-threatening, but the next connection, the broadband circuit in the orange, you see that it's best effort broadband cable. And this is where we go back to, we can't make that best effort broadband cable better, but we can take advantage of when it is good in terms of time domain variance, right? So we've got a lot of latency going on, but it's sporadic. We've got a lot of loss going on, again, not very symmetrical, and the reordering on it will kill you. And that's why people don't like putting voice over broadband individually. We like to have some backup so that we don't see that mass degradation of performance. And of course, a couple of outages, short outages, but outages nonetheless. By layering in our Ecessa WANworks solution and putting those tunnels in place instead of discrete VPNs, you're able to duplicate critical traffic. So what you're seeing here is overall latency improves by 89% because at any given moment, we're traversing the tunnel that's going to be performing the best. Same with the network latency in terms of our loss, in terms of 95% improvement, where we're hitting those holes, where we're recovering a packet where another one might be lost. And then on the reordering, fantastic performance because we're able to take just the packets that are in order and disregard the others, providing 100% reordering improvement. This means never down voice. This means never down remote desktop sessions. This means never down file transfers, along with avoiding 5 outages. Again, small outages, but annoyances and business detrimental nonetheless. So what does this do? You layer in our technology and it makes those connections as best as they can be and provides you with not only outage avoidance, but overall network performance improvement. Any questions? All right.
No questions.
Keep moving on. So there's different kinds of architectures, right? I think at this point there's 60 plus vendors that are selling SD-WAN and positioning SD-WAN, and those might be folks like us that have been around for quite a long time and have been repeating our message. Those might be new entrants that are startups that have just got to start from bringing different capabilities in. Some of those might be legacy players like Cisco and others who have got a long legacy of routing that are bringing new technologies in or buying technologies. And then there's also folks like I said earlier, firewall vendors who are adding SD-WAN capabilities. But not all SD-WAN is created equal. And as I've said over and over again, it's all about the architecture. So when we're talking about what's the best solution for a customer, it comes back to what do they need? What architecture will best fit their goals? And so at a high level, you've got, I call it 3 different architectures, right? First is cloud-based. And this is essentially, I think someone mentioned on the chat, Big Leaf, right? Big Leaf is a perfect example of this. They actually market cloud first SD-WAN. Essentially what they do is they put a device on the customer premise and they route all of that customer traffic up to their point of presence, their closest cloud POP. And that is the tunnel creation that they have done. They'll go from that edge to their cloud. That gives them some flexibility. That gives them static IP for failover. That gives them the ability to scale in terms of number of users and so forth. It gives people that cloud-first advantage of, hey, I want to go to Office 365 and Big Leaf is in the same data center as Microsoft. It's a win-win. Now, so detriments to that as well, but we'll talk a little bit more about those as we go on. There's also premise-based solutions, which is essentially what Ecessa used to be in terms of all the devices are on-prem and we only can tunnel from location to location. Think traditional router or think a traditional MPLS where you have to go from one point to another to get out to the internet. More of a backhaul type of situation, but very secure, low latency, direct routing capabilities. And what we see in the third architecture is where a lot of the players, including Ecessa, are migrating to, and that is your SD-WAN anywhere you want it, right? So either on-prem or in the cloud or a combination of those, right? The majority of the customers that we serve are not just prem or cloud. They're a hybrid or they're moving more toward a hybrid. So what that means is we have to be able to provide them an SD-WAN presence wherever they need it. So what we provide at Ecessa is a premises-based router, which allows for that locked-down, controlled environment from site to site. And we are also offering cloud-based instances in AWS, Azure, or VMware. So you essentially can have the same level of control, the same level of routing, the same level of security, but you can spin that instance up wherever you'd like it to be. And I believe that that is going to be the trend moving forward, is no one wants to be hemmed into a corner. We want to make sure that we've got the flexibility we need to accommodate any networks, as well as future-proofing those networks. Because the first question out of a network admin's mouth after we get done talking about the first layer of Visio drawing of their network is, and what about when I migrate to the cloud? Or what about when I go to turn on my Azure instances? What happens then? So we need to be flexible and adaptable, and that's where we're going. And I see that hybrid SD-WAN architecture is the wave of the future. Okay? All right. So what does that look like? This is our new graphic, so love the feedback on it as well. Kind of talking a little bit about it. Let me get my mouse. So essentially today, most of our multi-site customers are going to have remote offices that need to act independently, right? They need to have the ability to offload network at the edge, and they need to be able to backhaul network over a WAN of their control. If that's a hybrid of MPLS and public broadband, if that's cellular, if that's satellite, if that's fixed wireless, rich, if that is cellular, any types of connections Ecessa products can accommodate. That includes across multiple networks, large or small, single site, multi-site. So you've got the flexibility to either backhaul that traffic from remote offices back to your data center or headquarters, or you've got the ability to offload that traffic at the edge. With all of those features that we talked about earlier, about being able to do traffic steering, being able to do policy routing based on applications, etc. Okay. So where do we help eliminate those outages? Let's talk about some use cases, right? So what, who cares? What businesses are we talking about here? One of the folks on the call here is helped us with this, Points West Community Bank. It's a mid-sized regional bank based out of Nebraska. Essentially, their desired outcome was, help me with this expensive MPLS. Help me with this expensive MPLS, right? Don't give me a cloud solution, and allow me to not have any outages and make sure that my remote offices are well taken care of, right? Lock it down, take care of it. Essentially, that's what we did, right? Last year, we architected, designed this, and we rolled it out in a few phases, which is very typical. And this customer obviously now is a referenceable account where they don't mind us talking about the solutions that we provided and how we've helped them. But we've essentially helped them eliminate those drop Citrix sessions, those remote desktop sessions, We've helped them enable them to remove their MPLS to have that cost savings, and they now have more bandwidth for fewer dollars, right? And that is the trend that is happening out there. You see all the different articles talk about MPLS. When we first started selling SD-WAN, it was a complementary service, right? MPLS or SD-WAN helps MPLS get better because you can add on additional circuits to add that extra bandwidth that you need, but keep the private circuit. Today, the call is get rid of the MPLS. Again, we like to help customers achieve their goals, but we're seeing that trend. Okay. Next is Oregon Clinic. This is a multi-site healthcare organization in the Pacific Northwest. They were looking to integrate multiple MPLSs, and actually they moved from a layer 2 network to something that was a little bit more scalable for them and still secure. And so we were able to deploy our solutions to each one of their hospitals and remote clinics, creating that full mesh, never down environment that they needed to essentially replace that layer 2 connectivity that they have. And again, back to regulated environments, HIPAA compliance concerns, security concerns. Our product is architected in such a way that these folks lock it down, they close it off from the outside world, no one has input into it. They call us if they need help, but they have to allow us to log back in. So it is their network, it is their solution, and we're there to help support it 100% in that regulated environment. International, again, another benefit of our architecture is that we can drop a device or an instance anywhere in the world and accommodate the situation that's there, right? We don't require IP address changes, so we can take any telecom service from any country and make that work. And in this situation, Woodstream is an international manufacturing company that has locations in Germany and the US and needed to figure out a way to do something better than those discrete VPNs that when they bounce or go down, there's an outage there as it has to reestablish. So SD-WAN, our WANworks tunneling, allows them to never have that dropped packet, never have that dropped call, never have that dropped file transfer, which allows them, again, to never lose track of those real-time business critical sessions like Citrix, VDI, etc. Okay. Retail case study, Delaware Valley Floral Group is kind of a mix of retail and warehousing, but they are moving a large amount of perishable flowers around the country, especially on the East Coast. And they had a mixed match of legacy equipment, legacy phone systems. It was a really complex network. And again, they chose us over a competitor because we were able to prove out very quickly that we can integrate in with what they had without major changes to those environments and help them, again, improve that MPLS issue that they had, which was low bandwidth, add bandwidth by bringing in 2 or 3 extra carriers, and again, proved out that we could interoperate in their complex network. Egan is a Minneapolis-based construction firm. What Jim Nunn does over there, he's the CIO, is he does everything VDI. So when he spins up, when he's building a new stadium or a new office building or a new retail shopping mall complex, he's going to put construction trailers on site. He's going to string multiple DSL lines over to our device, plug in 8 different connections, and get the bandwidth he needs and never drop a packet back to his home base, where he then spins up all of his VMware virtual machines are in his headquarters unit. So he's able to then, or in his server, in his data center. So he is able to essentially create a low-cost endpoint, right, with dumb terminals and phones, create a secure environment, because if people steal those phones or steal those terminals, there's nothing on them, right? And he can spin up and move those trailers around very, very quickly and not need a lot of on-site IT management. So he's really created a best-in-class environment for his organization to really be flexible and accommodating for where they need those trailers. Okay. So what's the value in your portfolio, right? So what's in it for you? Obviously, we are channel focused. We want to make sure that we're enabling our partners. That's why we do these webinars. That's why we get on phone calls with you. That's why we answer your questions whenever you need us, is because at the end of the day, your businesses that you're supporting can benefit from this. If you're not already selling it, which I think almost 100% of you already are, I hope that you take a look at Ecessa's approach. But we want to make sure that we are telling our customers at the end of the day, this is the future, right? Outages should be unacceptable. you should be planning ahead. You should be proactive. This is an insurance policy for your business. You don't want the reputation hit that Target has. You don't want the downtime that CenturyLink was, outage for 3 days and you had to explain to your customer that it's out of your control, right? This is an opportunity for us to be proactive and put in some resiliency. There's opportunity for you to also make more money, right? So as we know, and I've heard over and over across the country, right, those margins are getting skinnier. Those margins are getting skinnier. Yes, bigger circuits are going out, but the price of those circuits are coming down. That isn't the trend that anyone wants, right? So to maintain productivity, to maintain profitability, we have to find other things to bundle together, other services, other things that are cutting edge that businesses don't already understand and know. These are new things. These are educational components that allow you to be that trusted advisor that you are already, and reinforce that with your customers. So we want to be able to provide these extra services to you to sell. We'll help you sell it. We'll help you support them. And there's a lot of folks on this call that would say, yep, when you call and ask for an Ecessa rep to be on the call, we're there and we bring what we need to be successful to make sure that you're successful. Your reputation matters to us because that's how we progress in this environment. So want to make sure that I'm sensitive to everyone's time. We did update our website this spring, so we've got a new look and feel. Hopefully that's hit the mark. Again, give us your feedback. We've also got a partner page here that we want you to be able to go to if you've got a deal to register, if you want to ask for some assistance, ask for a quote. We should have all of the tips and tricks there that are necessary. And hopefully this was a useful afternoon for you, and look forward to our next webinar. And thank you all for participating very much.
So I just want to remind you that if you have additional questions, please go ahead and enter them in the chat. We'll stay on and answer questions as long as you have them. And also, to be entered in the drawing for an Ecessa Edge, go ahead and email the number 1 to partnerinfo@ecessa.com. Then make sure to come and join us next month for our second in the webinar series. And we are so grateful for your time here. And let's see.
Get some questions if we want.
Well, we will be posting a recording and send you the deck. I don't see any questions right now, but please feel free also to send your questions to partnerinfo@ecessa.com.
And we'll stay on for a few more minutes here if you'd like to ask any questions of our live. Oh, go ahead.
We have a question, and that is asking about progress on BGP.
Oh, yes, Rich, thank you for that question. Yes, so that is on our roadmap. We're diligently working through that. We have really exciting things coming out at the end of this summer, and BGP and multicast routing are coming out later on in the year. I would probably say closer to December, but the goal is to have those completed by the end of 2019.
We have another question about progress on next generation firewall.
Yes, thank you for that. Yes, so that is really our priority right now, is increasing that security for folks. We've had a lot of feedback, even from our banking customers, that say, hey, look, we want to provide a lightweight next-gen firewall at our edge to complement our enterprise firewall at the headquarters unit. Happy to announce that we have that coming out at the end of the summer here, and the team has been building that, and we're in testing now. So look forward to some more details on that, data sheets, and helping to kind of get our first beta customers up and running. But yes, our products today have a layer 4 stateful firewall. They have for many years, but people are asking for that layer 7 capability, more web filtering capability, IDS, IPS. So that is coming. So thank you for asking.
I think with this, we'll close out today, and we look forward to seeing you next month.
Yeah, reach out anytime. You know where to find us. Appreciate the time.